Hello, everyone. You are listening to the C Squared podcast with Corey and Curtis. Today, we are here with Bradley Zorgdrager, author, marketing manager, pretty much just a metal extraordinaire, here to give you some advice and some tips. And first, I just want to say thank you for coming on the show today. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, no worries. Thank you for having me.
Oh, no, we're excited to have you. And so, for people who may not know who you are, because they've been living under a rock, do you want to just give like a brief history and who you are, what you do, and kind of what you're up to now?
Yeah, I can go into great detail, but I won't because that'll take. I could
Nutshell
tell.
version.
Yeah, I could tell the whole. I could take up the whole podcast doing so. But yeah, I started in journalism. I went to school for journalism. I was I still am like the metal hardcore assistant editor for Exclaim, which is Canada's only music magazine still in print and available across the nation. And I write for a bunch of places. I do on-camera album reviews for Banger TV. I did a little record label for a while until I realized I don't like doing that. I've tour managed bands. I've production managed shows. I've done merch for bands. I've driven for bands on tour. And yeah, now I do marketing management for bands, which is something I kind of fell into. But I really like it, so it's cool. I have to like force myself some evenings to play video games so I relax, because like otherwise I'll just keep working.
Relax. What is this word? Relax. I don't know if Curtis and I are familiar with the word. Is this French? No.
Yeah.
Are you French Canadian or something? Like what?
No, not at all. I took French until grade 11 and I can't speak a fucking lick of it. So
But
that was a failure of the education system.
Bradley, so in all seriousness though, so you kind of go over how you started with Brand of Sacrifice then, because that's like your first like marketing role, because that's kind of like the thing we really want to focus on today. So can you kind of go over that?
Yeah, so I mean, I kind of knew some of those guys for a long time just because they're in and around the same scene as me, but I don't know if I'd even ever met any of them in person. I did doors for their old band, The After Image, which was like a genty metalcore band. The venue had, contracted me for that or whatever, not the band, but I kind of met them, and then eventually they started Brand of Sacrifice, and it's based on the manga anime called Berserk, and I was like, that's kind of an interesting story. I think there might be a cool interview here, so I did that. I tried to shop it around for a while to like nerd publications, like Kotaku or IGN, to see if any of them would pick it up based on the anime manga angle, and didn't happen. But we had just kind of kept in touch from there. And eventually Kyle texted me just like venting about, or messaged me on Facebook, venting about the fact that, their extras for their music video had bailed last minute. And I was on tour with a pop punk band at the time, but the night before the shoot was a Toronto show, and then the next day was the Hamilton show, which is only like 45 minutes away. So I was like, I think I can maybe make this happen. Like, me and my friend are gonna come be in the video. So we were in the video, and then I still had this story that I was sitting on, and I was just kind of sick of it because I had written it and I was just sitting on it. And I was writing for Kerrang US at the time. And I was like, you want this story? And, they were like, yeah, sure. But, they didn't really have budget or like open for it. So I was like, just fucking put it up. I don't care at this point. Like it's been sitting around for so long. It's like, I just want it to be off my plate and like out there as something that I've done. And yeah, I don't know. The guys and I just kind of kept in contact because I've been around doing music stuff, and they would ask me questions and I would bounce ideas off them. And about a year ago, I had a call with Leo, and he had asked me if I could help with like an album rollout plan. Yep. So we spitball on that, and some of that stuff actually ended up happening for Lifeblood, which came out, March of this year. So about a year later. Some of it didn't, some of it, kind of fell by the wayside as we went through with the plans, and then yeah, so we were just kind of like, I don't know. It's like, when you're like dating somebody, but you're like not really officially dating somebody. It was kind of like that for a long time with them, and then it was like I woke up one day and it was like, do you want to accept control of Brad at brandofsacrifice.com? And then my signature said marketing manager. So I was like, all right, I guess that's what I do now. So here I am.
That's awesome. Okay, so before I really go into this any further, first question I had. So, were you the one that gave them their first major press article then with the Krang thing, or were they kind of already getting press before that?
They had some, I believe they had some press before that, but not on like that level of like
Yeah,
a giant feature in a publication like Kerrang.
fair.
They had some stuff, but it was, smaller blurbs, or I think there was an interview or two, but it was smaller publications, if I remember correctly. Don't quote me on that, because I wasn't like hyper invested in them at the time, right? So
Yeah.
I don't remember.
No, it's just funny because I know most people kind of fall into their management or marketing or PR roles with bands at first, just by what you're saying. Like they write about them first, and then they kind of get in there afterwards. Corey did that. I did that. So it's just interesting.
I did that.
So you became the marketing manager. Now you have no background in marketing that I'm aware of. If you do, correct me. Am I wrong?
Nothing.
None? Okay, so you're a journalism guy. You have a journalism degree. You basically work for metal publications and Exclaim. So how does one transition from being a journalist to a marketing guy?
I think there's a lot more crossover than one might assume, because when you're doing journalism, I mean, obviously, music journalism and any kind of journalism that's based in any kind of fandom is overcrowded, because anybody can start a publication in the internet, which is both a great and a not so great thing. And so it's overcrowded. So you really need to learn how to stand out. So you learn what appeals to people and what doesn't appeal to people. And then, and kind of how to, ride the line with like sensationalist bullshit, and like where it's appropriate and where it's not. And how to make it not sensationalist, even if it's based in something that could be. And then, you kind of learn how to promote stuff with no money, because there's very little budget in a lot of journalism stuff. And I think that I kind of take that approach with marketing, where I don't think that your approach should immediately just be to dump money into something. I've talked to bands before, and they were just like, why? Like I dump $1,000 a month into this, like every month, like why is nothing happening? I was like, well, people are clicking on your posts before? Because like if you have like just for ease of math, if you have 1,000 Facebook likes and your posts are getting 2 likes on them, if you spend the money to get that in front of 10,000 people, you're not even going to get 20 likes on that, because the original 1,000 people who saw the post, in theory, obviously this is simplifying algorithms, but who saw the post were predisposed to like your content because they liked your page. So I don't really even think about that. It's like kind of like throw gasoline on the fire or whatever. Don't try to start a fire from nothing. So I think of ideas that'll get traction, I think, more organically, and get people talking, get people going. And then it's like, then you can worry about taking out ads on it, rather than just burning money.
I get
on ads. Because anybody can say, listen to this fucking album, it's heavy as fuck, but it's like, nobody really reacts to that.
Nobody's gonna pay attention.
Well, Corinne said this the other day too. I think it was you, Corinne, where you were talking about this with where you need to have the audience first before you really kind of get into the advertising role in it. Anyways, I'll let you ask the next question, Corinne.
No, I was gonna just agree with you. That's totally true. And it's because without an audience, you don't even know who to target with your ads. There's no basis to go off of. So you're going to be blindly targeting people who aren't even going to identify with what you're saying. And if you have 1,000 likes and you're only getting 2 likes on your posts, the people who are already predisposed to liking your stuff don't even like it. So nobody else is going to.
Yeah, exactly.
That wasn't really a question, just an observation. But are you noticing that certain types of content definitely work better than others for, the audiences that you're going for, or that could work broadly across more audiences?
I think generally what works best is just thinking outside of the box. I was talking the other day to my friend, and I was saying, because I was in school for advertising before this. I thought I wanted out of music because I went an entire month without listening to music. The thought of listening to music made me feel like sick to my stomach. So I was like, this is not sustainable. So I wanted to get out, and then I, ended up getting more deeply involved than I ever have before, which is funny. But yeah, so I was talking to my friend about, in advertising, because everything's so hyper targetable now that you kind of have to, because we see so many advertisements that I think people don't even take it in. It's funny because people are like, ad block this, ad block that. It's like, I don't even need ad block, but I can't tell you what ads I saw this morning because I see so many of them that I just forget about it. It's just in one eye, out the other. So I was thinking, if there was like an ad for somebody and they're, here, I've got, Rain energy drink, and they're holding a can like this. Cool. Whereas like if the next day I go by and they're holding a can like this with the metal horns up, I'm going to take notice, so I think you just got to think a little bit outside the box. I mean, the one thing that we did with Brand of Sacrifice, and this is, I think, one of the first things that we did was start the branded ones, which is our like fan, I don't want to say fan club because I don't like the term. It feels like there's an imbalance of power and person there, and I don't like that, but it's like a fan community that we hang out in. And that was one of the first things that I was like, I think we really need to have a direct means of communication with the people who support us. I think that would be a really good thing. And then the other thing was, for our album launch, we did like and again, this is simplifying it how I was with algorithms earlier, but it was like a VR kind of thing. It's not an actual VR thing, but it's like a 360 thing where you're in our album art and you're looking around. And it's like, we're very proud of the world building that we've done with our album art. It's obviously, our band is based on, Berserk, but it's not just like, it's not like we're just taking Berserk stuff. Like, we're making our own world that, people who like Berserk probably can, see it and be like, oh, that's cool. Like, I understand that they like this, but it's not its own thing. So we're very proud of our artwork, but we are not. So I was like, why would we just fucking put the album art out and just be like, yeah, the song's out, like, big fucking deal. Like, here's your art. Like, I guess, like, it's like, I wanted to make it more of a big deal than that. So I was like, let's do like this VR 360 experience thing where you're in the art and you can like look all around the art. That's awesome. And so we did that. And I'm not, naive or full of myself enough to say that, we're changing the game or anything with that. Like, it's not like, I don't think that we're, using, VR, immersive, whatever you want to call it, technology in a way that's truly like groundbreaking, in the same way that when Slipknot did like their VR store, I thought that kind of was, you could walk around the store and click on stuff and buy it off the wall. Like,
yep.
That was like, whoa. But at the same time, maybe that's not that groundbreaking. Maybe it is something that's been done before, but I just haven't seen it in my little metal sphere. So we were just kind of trying to do that in a way where we're not changing the world, but for a band of our size in our genre to do something like that is kind of like, whoa. And it got attention because of that, and people were visiting it and posting about it because of that. Again, not changing the world, but a little bit of a shock to the system to people who generally operate in and around our world.
Cool. Have you guys, do you know if they've increased their sales a fair amount since this campaign that you've worked on?
Oh yeah, easily. I mean, you can just look at the charts, from the album and compared to the last album, or like even Spotify monthly. I mean, we started this album with 85K Spotify monthly. We're at 280K Spotify monthly now.
Whoa, I didn't know it was that much of a fucking increase. So you increased them by like over double. Holy
no, over triple.
What, triple? Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, so I mean, I don't want to say, you say you increase them. I don't want to say that because that feels like, but this campaign in general. Yeah.
Yeah. Corinne, did you have a follow-up before I go to the next one?
Oh no, go ahead. Go on to the next one.
Oh, okay. I have a follow-up. Corinne didn't include us in her fucking Metal Injection Spotify increase column. I was like, what the fuck? No.
Just so I do that entire column manually.
That's
It's not like
fucked.
an algorithm or anything like that. And it takes me about 6 hours to pull it all together. But I will add you to the list of bands that I need to do that for, because I
Hell
actually
yeah.
have to do that today.
Oh
So
shit, no way.
I will add you to the list. It's a 6 hour endeavor. And most people assume it's like me pulling it from the Spotify algorithm or something, or like the API or something like that. No, I do it completely manually, clicking into every single person's Spotify channel.
I don't know if it's yours or if it's I know that Metal Sucks does a similar one, but one of them has like the data like spreadsheet at the bottom of it, so it's like you can see that it's manual.
Yeah, I removed the spreadsheet just because it looks like a mess on our website. But yeah, I have like a Google sheet that I build that whole thing in. And then I have it all programmed to do all the math for me.
Yeah, no, I'm just giving you shit. I don't actually give a shit, but
I'm just saying everybody assumes it's an API, but it's not. It's actually just me clicking into everybody's profile, and there's 400 bands on it. So.
But even if it was like in theory, even if it was an API, it doesn't mean that the API would add the new bands for you automatically. You would still have to add the new bands into your thing or whatever, you know. Okay, ask like riddle me this. Do you have a playlist that has a song from each of these bands so that you can just click on each of them?
No, but I should do that.
Yeah, you should do that for sure.
Bradley's now taken control of the entire interview and turned it into a pitch for Brand to Sacrifice. It's fucking
No,
hilarious.
well, no, I'm just saying, like, you know, rather than having to type it all in, if you just have a playlist, you click on it, take the note down, then click the back button, click on the next one. So just would make it easier, you know.
Yeah, I have them all hyperlinked, so at least I do that, so I can just, you know, click into each one that way. But doing a playlist would be brilliant too.
Yeah, because then it takes you out of, you have to go to your browser, click on it, it opens it up in Spotify. You have to go back to your browser, which is like, yeah, it doesn't take very long because it automatically does it for you. But
every second counts on that list because it takes every second saved because it's so long.
Dude, this is funny. You have Torso Fuck on here? That is not a band I expected to have on there.
Somebody got really salty about Torso Fuck not being on there. Like, we get really salty fans about that list, and salty managers about their band not being on that list because they're like, oh, they're just using an API and pulling in all these metal bands. Why isn't blah? I'm like, no, you have to tell me this band exists.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, like at this point, like it wouldn't matter as much for Brand because like we had our massive growth over the last while, so it wouldn't be anything like crazy or anything. But yeah, I was just like, it's just funny. You know what's fucked up? I'm on this right now and I'm looking at Evanescence and I'm convinced that in my mind, because I like Evanescence is spelled obviously how you have it there, but for me, I thought it was Evanescence. And I'm like looking at it and like it's like the Berenstain Bears thing. I'm like, that's wrong. That doesn't make sense. It's not how it looks in my mind. Like, what the fuck? But I mean, to be fair, they haven't released an album in like a fucking decade, so it's fair that you know, their name faded in my until like last week or something. You know, so it's fair that it faded in my shit. But anyway,
so now that Brad hijacked the interview, I'm going to take back control.
Yeah, hell yeah, do it.
So basically what I was going to ask you is, how does the marketing manager kind of overlap or kind of assist with the publicist?
So I, you know, truthfully, like I said, I don't have no education in this. So in terms of like a traditional marketing manager, I'm not fully sure, but yeah, with me, we work with a publicist, Charlie Beezer. She works with Cosa Nostra, and I just kind of like, because I have an inkling of what I would like to see as a journalist, and you know what kind of pitches would work for me and stuff. I just like come up with like ideas. I'm like, hey, we should pitch this publication on a story kind of like this or whatever. And then I run all this stuff, you know, by her. And then, you know, sometimes she's like, that's awesome. And sometimes she's like, no, because of this, which I think is wonderful because I'm learning from her. You know, I can learn, I know all my stuff from like the journalist side of thing, but you know, she on the other hand has a different, so I'm learning about how that works. So yeah, I come up with ideas, or like sometimes, you know, if we're doing a story or whatever, and I know somebody at the publication, like I think there's you know, obviously there's like something of like a power imbalance with like publicists and journalists, where even though we're all friends, it's like, well, not all, I'm sure there's some people who aren't, but like,
yeah, not everyone.
You're always asking somebody for something, right? So I think coming at it sometimes from a journalist standpoint allows me to just be like, hey, check this out, in like a little bit more of a friendly way. And I've just built relationships with my journalist peers. So sometimes I'll just be like, hey, can you check this out? And if you're feeling it, cool. Sometimes we, I come up with article ideas and I say like, hey, do you think we could do something with this over in this direction? And, she'll either take it and run with it or be like, no, because of this. And I'll be like, oh, I didn't think about it like that. That is a flaw in my thinking there. So I don't know, like I said, I don't know traditionally how much there is an overlap, but I think, publicists, like PR work is essentially marketing. It is. It's just that it's like a specific branch of marketing, which is getting somebody else to do your marketing for you. So I think it's, pretty intrinsically related, even if, other bands have marketing managers who don't fully do that. And I think, when I had a weird time taking on the mantle of marketing manager at first, because to me a marketing manager is like, oh, we take out the fucking Facebook and the Google ads and stuff, and it's like I can do that too, but like that's not really what I do. So I was like, is this really what I do? But I just think it's marketing manager for 2021, which makes me sound more fucking futuristic or whatever than I am. But I mean, I was talking to my friend the other day, and he was saying that, back when, one of his projects was first starting out, like you could take $500 and you could dump it into fucking Facebook and you'd get insane traction.
Yep.
And then, like, not that long after, everybody started to figure that out. So you just stopped getting traction. And then he works for like, in video games, and like, he knows, so he knows the budgets for video games that they're, your band is dumping $500 to get your music video seen. And like these video games are dumping hundreds, if not hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars into acquisition and purchases for their game. So it's like, I feel like there is definitely still a place, obviously, for like buying ads and stuff. But, I think my fear of, well, I'm not like number one ultimate genius buying ads. I think more about like outside the box. I think over time, my fears have kind of been acquiesced because I can learn that stuff, but it's harder, I think, to get your brain broken like mine is and think in like really weird ways that permeating stuff. I'm just weird. I come up with ideas that make no sense, and then we make them make sense, and then they work because people are like, holy shit, that's wild.
Fair enough. Corinne, did you want to go over anything more marketing related before I switch over to him as a journalist?
Well, I actually did have a question on ads. Is there a platform that their ad system actually does work for you? Because I know that Facebook and whatnot is just garbage anymore if you're not dumping millions of dollars into it. But have you had any luck with like Google, YouTube, the Blastbeat ad network, any of those kind of places? Where do you see them actually working, or do they just not anymore?
I mean, it's funny because I, worked in journalism for a long time and still kind of do. But, unless it's hyper targeted, I don't know how well it works with that. Like, I think the reason that Decibel still does so many premieres and that they probably do well for Decibel is because like Decibel has really curated the kind of content that they do. So it's like, even if it's like a style of metal you dislike, it's like probably at least quality metal. So there's a good chance that, your average Decibel reader who likes some of the genres on there there's like probably like a 50% chance if they click on a random premiere article, they might at least like it because they probably like a few different genres of metal. And I think that would extend to advertising and stuff. So for Brand of Sacrifice, I haven't actually done any ad buys or whatever.
Nice.
Yeah, I mean the guys I think have maybe done like some small ones, and I offered to take care of it, but like it wasn't, I think, a major part of what we were pushing. And I interact with Brand of Sacrifice all over the internet, obviously, and I've never seen an ad for them from their page pop up, which I think suggests that any buys we've done have been pretty minimal, because you'd think I would have seen it.
That's awesome. but maybe I'm mistaken. Maybe not.
Huh? Sorry, what was that?
Think I saw an ad for them at one point. Maybe not. Maybe it was just like a zillion posts I saw. I mean, you're on my feed, so it could have just been you posting, right? So, but I'm sure I've seen ads.
Yeah, no, so yeah, I don't fully know. I think that the best way to do ads is obviously one, hyper targeted, and two, you got to get on the new platforms ASAP and milk it until everybody's on it, and then your dollars don't go as far. So I'm sure that a TikTok ad goes farther in 2021 than a Facebook ad because less people are utilizing it. Yeah. And utilizing each individual platform for what it is and not just coming in with like a blanket ad buy. Like if you do like a YouTube buy or whatever, like you can pick like the best part of your song that people are going to, whereas like obviously on Facebook it doesn't auto play anything. So yeah, like just utilizing the functionalities of the different platforms.
Cool. Did you have more on that, Corinne, or can we go on?
No, that was a good answer.
We got about 15 minutes left tops, I think. So we need to burn through the last part. So Bradley, so you are basically you're at Banger, Exclaim, and you do occasionally write for Decibel still, correct? That's it?
Yeah, I write for Decibel sometimes. I write for AP sometimes, but yeah, I don't know. I'm pretty checked out of journalism, if I'm being honest with you. I just don't care anymore.
Yeah.
I prefer doing this stuff.
Yeah, but you're still the editor at Exclaim, and you're still doing Banger stuff. So I want to ask, how should people, like you've talked about this on my prior podcast, but me and Corinne have been talking about how to properly pitch journalists, and she's going to probably be different than what you want because you have a different background and you're also an editor. So how do you like to be pitched when someone's pitching you?
I mean, I appreciate when somebody understands, what the publication is about. So, with Exclaim, for example, it's very Canada heavy. It didn't, necessarily, I think it started out that way and then it kind of became like more homogenous over time. And then I think over the pandemic kind of, a lot of publications have kind of doubled down on what made them and what they do that's special. And so Exclaim has, focused more on Canadian stuff. And so I appreciate when, somebody comes and pitches me something with an actual Canadian angle, especially when I've told them that. Like, I don't expect everybody to, be on the site enough to recognize that we've done that change again. But when I've told them that and they just keep coming back with like random, band from X country, whatever,
Here's this Brazilian band.
Yeah. And it's like, I'm not opposed to that kind of stuff, but it's just like, damn, like, does your country have a similar publication to Exclaim where it's like, the music publication for that? Like, you should focus on that before you worry about, breaking international or whatever. Because it's if you're not coming over here to tour and like your label doesn't even have proper like distro over here or whatever, like you're probably not going to get much out of this. It's, I appreciate fully thought out pitches, not just, band is coming there on tour, do an interview, but band is coming over there on tour and here's an angle. Like I did an Ailstorm story and it was like, oh, they're coming on a Canada tour. And I'm like, okay, like I hate Canada tour stories. You know what happens every time? Oh, your women are so beautiful. Poutine is great. It's terrible. Just very not interesting. And so I came back and I'm like, okay, like, yeah, like it'd be cool to do something. I don't think they've ever done, like played a lot of these markets, but like that in itself is kind of a bad story. So I messaged back and there was like, I was like, what other, what angles are there? What do you got? You don't have a new album coming out. I mean, they did, but it wasn't announced. So there wasn't really anything we could talk about. And this tour was kind of like closing out the last cycle. It had nothing to do with a new album. And there was they said like there is a giant inflatable rubber duck shortage because the band had them as like an inflatable stage prop. And then, they would throw them out at the end of the set. And then eventually, through wear and tear and for some reason, this jackass thinks it's cool to have a knife and stab it. They ran out of the giant inflatable rubber ducks, so they had to get new ones made. And the problem therein becomes a lot of these places they've never been to, and they're smaller towns, so they're playing smaller venues, and they got like reverse Spinal Tap with this Stonehenge, where like the ducks were actually bigger than they thought they were going to be. So like they were like, can these even fit in these venues? So yeah, when they said like they're like in giant inflatable rubber duck shortage, I'm like, that's a fucking funny story. I'm like, how can I tie it into Canada and the Canada tour? Well, this is the first tour that they're doing with these ducks. And there was like a quote where he was just like, yeah, like we don't know if these will fit in a venue, and if they do, like they might be dangerously close to the lighting fixtures and cause fires and stuff. So I was like, okay, like this is like a funny story. So I appreciate when people come in with full pitches and why it would work for me as a writer or us as a publication. And I was talking to somebody recently, and I don't remember who, but they said that they got in like a pretty sizable publication because they just came and they're like, we have this angle, and then it kind of can go into this direction and then this direction. And then like this publication was like, yeah, cool, let's do it. Cause you just did, 50% of the work for this person, because they don't have to like dig in before they even agree to it, which is kind of it's a thankless work, because nobody knows you did it if you just say no, but like you've done a lot of research to see if it makes sense for your publication. So I think, like a more specific pitch is almost always going to be better. And then, obviously you say at the end, like, if you have any other ideas, like by all means feel free, which, journalists will do anyways, because, it's their art if you want. But yeah, just coming in super specific. And then if they're like, no, I'd rather just do a general one about the album, like that's fine too,
Cool. So now, other than Exclaim, so how would someone pitch you for like Banger or Decibel, or do you get that assigned to you?
Well, but yeah, it's with Banger especially. I mean, one, it's planned super far out in advance.
Yeah.
Two, it's not really as much my call. I'm a contributor. I'm not, the editor, or in this case, the producer. That being said, if I really like something, I can, make a case for it. But in that case, like, you're probably not coming to me making a case for it for me to make a case for it, because I'm probably already into it. I'm sure there's been, maybe one time in my like career, if you want to call it that, there where somebody came to me with a band and was like, I think you'd really like this, and I liked it, and I'm like, yeah, I actually want to push this. And then with Decibel, it's like sometimes I'm assigned, and sometimes I'll be like, hey, like I think this band is cool, and I think they're putting a song out, and I kind of do that. But ultimately, it has to go through somebody other than me. So I could think a band is great, but it could be very much not in Decibel's style, and like it's just like it just doesn't happen.
Yeah, no, I figured. I just wanted to check because I know that's probably a common question. Okay, so other than what you said for the Exclaim and the Canadian angle, is there anything else that you like, that you appreciate having when you're being pitched specifically?
I mean, I think it's just like the general stuff. I mean, like, include a bio, include the music somewhere that I can stream it, not download it. I don't want to download your fucking album if I've never even heard it,
Yes.
Fucking, yeah, I don't know. I mean, then like if we're like setting up a premiere or whatever, like fucking know how to do it, like know how to set up like a fucking, a Bandcamp exclusive embed, so I don't have to come bother you, and don't make your YouTube thing public until the next day. Just general like good practice things that a lot of band dudes don't know for whatever reason. Band dudes, band gals,
especially the Bandcamp embeds. I've had more problems with those than like anything else. The entire time I've been working for Metal Injection, they always do them wrong.
I mean, it's really easy. There's a fucking instructional thing on how to do it. Like, I just don't understand how everybody fucks it up all the time. It's just like, there's a step by step.
I'll tell you guys something. I do send, like, just for both of your guys' knowledge, I always send the instructions from Bandcamp on how to do the fucking thing. And you're right, 98% of the time, they still fuck it up, and it's amazing to me. I don't understand it, but
Yeah, I think I've done it for a band before. I can't remember who, but like they just couldn't figure it out. I'm like, just give me your fucking Bandcamp login.
that's what I do sometimes.
Yeah, yeah.
I've done that too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Password now.
Like, just help me help you, man. You know what I mean? Like, I'm trying to do this, you know, in the easiest way possible. And honestly, at this point, for me to have to keep going back to you and saying, change this, like it's easier if I just do it. Just give me your login. Do you trust me? Let's go, you know?
Exactly.
I've had to do that twice now.
I've had many times too. So Corinne, do you have any more questions on pitching before I ask the final question?
No, go for it.
Comment. Okay. All right. So final thing here is, so Bradley,
Yes.
so since you are now a marketing manager with Brand to Sacrifice, are you looking to expand your horizons and do this with other bands, or is this your sole baby?
No, I mean, I do it with other bands too. I'm doing it with Of Sulfur, which is Ricky Hoover. He used to sing in Suffocate. It's his first new music in a decade. So we have a single out, and we're, you know, working towards more. And I'm doing this band Carcosa. It's funny, they actually followed a very similar, I don't want to say career path. It feels weird to say career path when you're talking about metal, because it's like, it is, but it's also, you know, we work in music about killing people, so like, who really cares? But you know, they were like, Brand of Sacrifice used to be in the After Image, which was like a genty metalcore band, and they went deathcore and found more success. And same thing with Carcosa. They used to be in like a genty metalcore band called Galactic Pegasus, and you know, they went deathcore and are finding like, you know, infinitely more success than they had there within like a year of the band launching. And yeah, Andrew, who plays in that band, is also like a pretty successful metal YouTuber, and Johnny does it as well. And Johnny plays an Angel Maker as well. So I really like these. I like bands that are not just bands, but they're just like little empires, you know, with Brand of Sacrifice, like they self-produce and mix, and, you know, they do a lot of their graphics and, you know, video stuff in-house, like not the music videos, but like, you know, promotional videos, like, you know, of like our new merch line. And, you know, we do our own like merch things. Like we like released our album with indie merch and rising merch, because, you know, who wants to fulfill thousands of orders like that? But when we do like an individual like merch drop, you know, we do that ourselves. And then you know, they've got their Shibori Threads, which is like a tie-dye merch company that we do collabs with other bands. So it's like, I like these bands that are kind of little empires. And it's like the same thing with, you know, Carcosa, where it's like they're YouTubers, and Andrew's also, so Andrew does the YouTube thing, and he's also in the band. And then, you know, Johnny does some YouTube stuff too, but he's also, you know, overplaying an Angel Maker, who is a successful, you know, Canadian deathcore band as well, also independent, also Blood Blast. And I just think I like that kind of thing, because it means, you know, one, they can execute on multiple levels. Two, they've executed on multiple levels before I'm even involved, so I can kind of tap in and get involved rather than having to revamp the whole fucking thing. I work with a band called Nightwell. They're like an emo pop punk band, but like, as is you know, the direction of that scene in general, it's like super poppy. And those guys, you know, they play in a bunch of different bands. Like the singer has like a project, which, and fuck man, I don't even know if this is like the right genre, because this isn't really my realm, but I think it's kind of like an R&B kind of styled thing. And, you know, some of the guys have done like new metalcore bands and like heavier bands, and, you know, yeah, you know, they all just kind of do their own thing. Like the one guitar player in the band is a producer and has co-written for a bunch of like successful bands in, you know, in the scene and on bigger labels. So I like to they do all their video content in-house as well. So it's like, I just like to work with like those kind of bands. And yeah, there's some other bands that I've spoken to and with that I can't really fully say anything about.
All good. All good.
But it's picking up pretty heavily, pretty quickly. And I think that's another reason that I'm, you know, with some of these bands that I'm kind of only tapping in when they're like, when they've got the empire thing going on, like that they've executed themselves up until now. Whereas like, if I get hella busy with like one of these like artists who's releasing some like bajillion-dollar campaign, I can you know, give these these bands the roadmap and say like, this is,
Yep.
this is what you need to do, and trust them to execute it with the attention to detail it deserves. And, you know, they'll come to me if they have any questions, but I don't have to worry about, you know, holding their hands. So I do that as much as I can, but, you know, knowing that, you know, something could pick up at any given moment, I really like to work with bands who have a proven track record of executing stuff with care. So.
Yeah, fair enough. Okay, so we're about running out of time. Corinne, do you have anything to wrap up with, Bradley, or you good?
No, I think we've covered a lot of information for people to digest. He's got a lot of good pointers about organic reach and everything like that, and not getting into ads too early, because that's a huge mistake that people tend to make. So no, I just want to say thank you again for being on the podcast with us. Definitely appreciated to have all this information out there for people.
Yeah, no worries. Hopefully it helps somebody.
Oh, I'm sure it will. It will.
And Bradley, we're going to have you back. Obviously, I think you were the most featured guest on the Dumb and Dumbest podcast next to Lindsay Schoolcraft before. So we'll have to.
She fucking surpassed me. I was ahead of her at one point. Motherfucker.
Were you?
Yeah, I was. You guys tweeted about it that I was ahead of her, but then because she had to reschedule.
That's right.
And then she came back. So motherfucker.
I'll have to have you back like maybe another month, and then you can set the record again.
Hell yeah.
Anyways, party on, Corey.
Party on, Curtis. Party on, Bradley.